When y'all go home and you're talking to your buddies and they say, he wants to take my gun away. You've heard it here. I'm on television, so everybody knows it. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in people's lawful right to bear arms. I will not take your shotgun away. I will not take your rifle away. I won't take your handgun away.
Since the beginning of this country's history, guns have played a very large and controversial role. They have helped shape and form this country and helped this country gain its independence from Great Britain. They were important enough in our founding fathers' eyes that they made the Second Amendment, which states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There have been many interpretations of what this means and what constitutes as an infringement of our rights according to this amendment, and there have been a few Supreme Court rulings that have helped this country determine what is constitutional and unconstitutional. However, in this wake of the mass shootings we saw last year in Aurora, Colorado and Newtown, Connecticut, there have been a large debate in the nation's capital about what should be done about gun control and it comes to assault rifles.
Well, certainly there are a lot of laws on the book dealing with weapons and ammunition. I certainly think we can make some improvements. One of the ones that was just before Congress that unfortunately was voted down was to do background checks on buyers at gun shows. And I actually support that. I think we do need background checks. Whether you buy it from a dealer at a store or you buy it at a gun show, there needs to be a background check. That's a significant loophole.
That's a good question. You know, do we need more laws against gun bans? You know, and for what purpose are they trying to do that, right? If they want to restrict or create laws to prohibit certain people to own weapons, then I think that's good. I mean, I think everyone would agree that there are certain types of individuals that perhaps shouldn't have guns. So in that aspect, yes. But if you want to create laws to reduce violence and stuff like that, I don't think they're going to have much of effect, right? Like I tell my students that if somebody wants to kill somebody, you know, with or without a weapon, they're going to do it. All right. So if we ban, let's just say that we ban assault weapons, people can still buy handguns. People can still buy knives, and as we saw, like the Boston Marathon, you know, they can build bombs. So depending on why you want to create that law. You know, if you want to create a law because you want to reduce violence, it's probably not going to do any help. People are going to kill people regardless of whether they have assault weapons or they have handguns.
Yes, actually, it's, I believe, Dianne Feinstein. She's trying to pass regulations on high-capacity magazines as well as semi-automatic rifles, which is majority of rifles, I believe, actually. And they try to use like the term like assault rifle, but that's not even what the AR and AR-15 stands for, so it's pretty ridiculous actually. I disagree. There's been several cases and several studies done saying that you know, when you're attacked, when you're using them for personal home defense, you're often attacked by several people at once. Having a lower capacity is not going to be helpful to you, and as well there's several gun laws in places like Newton, in places like Aurora, and they were disregarded anyway. And look at Chicago. Chicago has one of the most secure gun control laws in the country, and their crime rate is out of control.
It's something about universal, well, it got modified as universal background checks, but prior to that they were trying to ban pretty much any semi-automatic weapon with a military-style feature. Claiming that a military-style feature is going to make a weapon deadlier than one that isn't, which is, I mean, if you look at the physics behind it and the ballistics, it makes no sense. It's basically a feel-good measure. I vehemently disagree. Gun control isn't about controlling guns, it's about controlling people. If you take away people's options, you're basically infringing upon the very, right that was given to us by the founding fathers. It's egregious. It should not be done at all. If you read the Second Amendment the way it was written, the Second Amendment gives you the right to bear arms, and there's a line that says it shall not be infringed upon. By making any sort of gun control measure, you're infringing upon that right, which means you're breaking the Second Amendment. If we don't have the Second Amendment, we don't have the 14th, we don't have the First, we don't have any of the other amendments. Our rights go away if we don't have the Second. So I completely disagree with any infringement on the Second Amendment.
It is clear that President Obama and Senator Feinstein, along with other Democrats, are determined to get some kind of legislation passed when it comes to the ownership of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. This has to be stopped, and one way of doing this is getting in touch with your senators and congressmen and telling them how important your Second Amendment rights are to you and your family and even friends. Another way is to make donations or even become an NRA member so they can support pro-gun senators and congressmen, as they are very influential when it comes to politics and policies. This is not only for our protection, but for the protection of future generations when it comes to the ownership of guns. There have been gun bans in Chicago and Washington, D.C., and it is clear with these graphs that their murder rate is significantly higher than the rest of the country. And as you can see with the graph of Texas, when they pass the right to carry, the murder rate is either lower than or equal to the rest of the country.
Credits.